use the
right
particular
and turn
technology
left.
in place at the time, punch card technology, to cast their vote.
The ballot is a designed object that is critically important for democracy, but in the United States, it's almost never designed by an actual design professional.
And as such, our liberty is being infringed upon by the tyranny of bad design.
One of the oldest recorded instances of a vote is from the ancient Greek play The Eumenides by Aeschylus. In the story, Orestes is on trial for the murder of his mother.
12 jurors line up and take turns placing a stone in one urn to signify guilty, or in another urn to signify not guilty. And this motif of the stone is a marker of a vote. It's an image that's stuck, and the Greek word sephos, which means small stone or pebble, is the root of psephology, or the study of elections. And as Eric Heron tells it, himself a psephologist, the whole stone in the urn setup was not too different than how elections in the United States were originally conducted. So in the early US elections, you will find voters casting a voice vote. They physically had to make their way to the polling place and announce their vote. And one of the things you do sacrifice is the privacy of your vote. Individuals know who you are voting for. And what that can engender is pressure on voters to support one candidate or another.
The polls were not calm places with orderly lines. You could be badgered and pressured into voting a certain way.
Early elections in the United States often featured liquor and violence and fraud. Voters would have to push or shove or be physical to express their right to vote. In fact, an election could be so raucous that it served as an argument for some against women's suffrage. Elections were deemed as inappropriate for women to attend. Then, in the late 1800s, election supervisors realized that having people vote by speaking their choices aloud was a terrible idea. The lack of privacy could lead to coercion, and those who did vote their conscience had no way to verify that their vote was being recorded accurately.
And this all led to the advent of the paper ballot, called a ticket. But unlike the ballots we have today, these were printed not by the government, but by political parties.
Political parties would print their own ballots that voters would take with them to the polling place.
miles, keep
Now,
right.
these could be printed in newspapers, they could be printed by the parties themselves and distributed, and the voter would turn in that party ticket. The party tickets would generally only have the candidates from that party on them. So if, say, you wanted mostly Republicans, you go get a Republican Party ticket, and then you cross out the candidates that you don't want, and then either write in or literally cut and paste pieces of paper with your candidates' names onto that ticket. And this is the origin of the term to cast a split ticket or a straight ticket.
But this system also had problems. For one, parties could make tickets that looked like those of their opponents, but actually had their own candidates listed, duping voters into voting for the wrong party.
Non-standard ballots also created other opportunities for shenanigans, like racketeering schemes, which facilitated a whole black market of buying and selling votes. And so the party ticket system wasn't creating fair elections either. So in the late 19th century, there is an innovation that is imported from abroad. It's called the Australian ballot. And the Australian ballot is government printed ballot that is distributed to voters who come to a polling place, and they cast their ballot in private. And this Australian ballot system was a game changer.